Hello, Advanced Animal Science. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I'm sorry that I can't be there today. So I spent 3 days of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, taking my son to the doctor. Yep, 3 days in a row. And we determined that James has a nasty intestinal virus and basically has fluid coming out of all kinds of places that you don't want to know about. So I'm going to stay home for a couple days and take care of him. I will definitely be back Wednesday through Friday this week because either James will be better, that's what we're going to hope for, and or Grandma's coming to the rescue and is going to come take care of him for me so that I can be here and be with you guys. We have some labs and things coming up. I'm sorry that you guys are going to have to do so much of this genetics lab without me there. But again, I will be back Wednesday and Friday to help you guys if you're getting stuck on some of this content. So today, while I'm gone, I have one last activity for you guys to do that's related to genetic stuff. We're going to play a little bit with some pedigrees, and then you're going to have some time to get started on your final project or continue with some of those practice populations that we've been looking at in the CGS Lab simulator. So to start out, I want to read a little bit of background for you on your pedigree detective activity, which is on page 157 in your Ag Science notebooks. So if you guys open up page 150 to page 157, your activity is 157 through 160, so it's just 4 pages. The first 2 pages are pretty much all directions, so it's not too tough. I'm going to start reading the purpose, so turn to page 157 and follow along. It says pedigrees provide a visual way to observe the lineage of an animal. By following a pedigree, geneticists can track genes throughout generations. As you have learned, each parent contributes half the genes to his or her offspring. Using that knowledge, you can determine 25% of an animal's genes were given to them from their grandparents, and 12.5% from their great-grandparents, and so on. Pedigrees give producers one more tool to manage their livestock. Can pedigrees be used outside of the livestock industry? Sally Sleuth has wanted a dog since she was little. She scoured the newspapers looking for a litter of black lab puppies and finally found an ad that read, quote, "For sale to a good home, 5 black lab and 1 chocolate lab, 7-week-old male puppies," end quote. Sally called the phone number and made arrangements to see the puppies that next Saturday. When she arrived at the breeder's home, the puppies had all been sold except for the chocolate-colored male. Sally asked to see the pup's parents and was shocked to find that both parents were black labs. As Sally rode home with her new puppy that she named Tango, she decided she needed to do some serious research into Tango's pedigree and inheritance of coat colors in Labrador retrievers. So materials you're going to need for this one is just a pencil and your brains because it's a little bit tricky. It's a puzzle that you guys are going to be figuring out. So in this activity, you're going to help Sally Sleuth complete a 4-generation pedigree for Tango, her pup. You're going to use bits and pieces of information that she could obtain from the breeder and some internet information to determine the pedigree. So starting at the bottom of page 50 or 157, you guys see some information and some clues to help you guys set up her pedigree. So you're going to read those clues and then record that information, try to figure it out on page 159 to figure out her pedigree. So you've got 12 clues to help with the pedigree, and then you've also got to go back through and track the genes. So after you've filled in the pedigree and you think you know where each animal is, I want you to go in and fill in the genes. So pay attention in part 2 that big B is black, little b is chocolate, and remember that black is dominant to chocolate, so our chocolate labs have to be little b, little b. Then you guys have some conclusion questions on the bottom of page 158. You also have questions at the bottom of page 159 and 160. Now we are going to debrief and talk some more about pedigrees when I come back later this week, but this activity will give you some hands-on like introduction to that will be helpful. So I want you guys to go through and work on the pedigree detective. Have fun. It's a bit of an adventure. It's a fun puzzle for you guys to figure out. You guys can work in groups, but I challenge you to try to do it on your own. Don't just take the easy route and figure out who the good puzzle people in class are and talk to them. So take some time and try to figure it on your own because it'll help you out when we get to our later activities. Now, the other thing I want you to work on today is continuing with your CGS Labs genetic simulators, which apparently I didn't launch this. I thought I did. Where'd it go? There it is. So your simulators, if you guys haven't finished or you haven't gotten the email from me that you are correct on all of your populations, go back and work some more. I will still be available through email. I'll try to get back to you as quick as I can, as long as James isn't, currently vomiting or something. Let's try to get those corrected. The research you guys have been doing on populations is very helpful because some of you are ready to start population 6, which is your final project population. In population 6, you guys are going to be looking at mice instead of at Drosophila flies, so you're going to be looking at some different traits. And I want to just show you what can happen. So when we get in and look at your final project, you've got a population of organisms here. You've got your mice, and there's a couple of things that are different than the practice problems, which is why I had you go through your practice problems, because they're going to help. First, in your mice populations, you're all going to be tracking 2 different traits. So for example, in this population, we have color and we have hyperactivity, or the activity level or aggressiveness of the mouse population. So you're tracking 2 traits at a time. Now you can go through here and you can still play with all these traits. You can trade things around, look at different items. You still breed them the same way, but there's a problem. You'll notice if you come here, do I have simple A's and B's for you? No, I do not. In fact, you do not get genotypes at all in your final population. You guys have phenotypes shown, so you can see that there's a yellow or a sable or an ebony mouse, but you don't get any information about their actual genotype. That's why you guys had those practice populations, is so that you can observe what happens when you make breeding choices in this mouse population and kind of work your way backwards to figure out what types of inheritance you might be seeing. So your final project is going to be that you guys have to try to figure out what type of inheritance is taking place for your 2 separate traits. I can tell you that the 2 traits that you guys are looking at are not linked. So this group, which I don't remember who this is. Sorry, I just stole one of yours. Whoever the blue group is, this is you, they are going to have inheritance type for the color of an animal and a type of inheritance to determine for the energy level of that animal. Not only do you have to figure out how it's being inherited, but then you're going to put together a short PowerPoint presentation to explain to the class how you know that it is that type of inheritance. So you're going to have to prove it to us using your data from the lab, which is why it's very important that you guys come down and save before you exit anything. Don't throw away any of your populations unless you're certain you don't need them. Another thing for you guys to see, if you haven't found it already, if you go to the analysis tab gives you counts. You can go to the organisms and see this cute animation thing if that is helpful to you, but you can also just go here to analysis and see the straight numbers and do some calculations that way. You can also hit this copy to clipboard, which is going to just copy the information so that you can paste it into Excel or a Word document or a PowerPoint down the road when you need it. We will talk when I get back about what you're going to do with the stats tab, which is part of the way that you're going to prove to us statistically that you have the correct mode of inheritance for your critters. So for the day today, just to review, let me get rid of these windows. Boop, boop, boop. You guys are going to start out, do your pedigree detective activity, page 157 through 160. When that's all done, get with your CGS Labs groups and continue working with the practice populations or start working on your final project. Thanks you guys so much for your flexibility. Well, I've got a sick kiddo, and I will see you on Wednesday.